and welcome to yet another episode of Innovation Masters series, an exclusive series organized by ETCIO in association with Control S and Cloud4C. Now, first of all, I wish and hope that all of you are safe and secure, indeed very troublesome and uncertain times. Well, for the past couple of years, they have really been a kind of a watershed for IT leaders testing their mettle against what seems to be the biggest crisis ever as the COVID-19 pandemic, really threatened to disrupt businesses and bring them to a halt. Now, many innovation stories were born out of their ingenuity in leveraging digital to drive transformational business outcomes. In fact, this year as well, 2021 continues to be no less challenging as IT leaders guide the organizations to growth and revival through the highly volatile business environment, thus creating new vistas in innovation in its wake. Now, the Innovation Masters program tries to shine a light on these innovation stories and recognizes the IT leaders architecting them, the leaders heralding the new IT for the new normal, and it is indeed a privilege to celebrate their exemplary work. Today, we bring you one such story of remarkable ingenuity and innovation, a story that is definitely worth telling. So please join me in welcoming Vishal Bhatia, Senior Vice President, Enterprise Security Architecture Technology Management Group at IDFC First Bank. Welcome to the show, Vishal. I hope you're doing well.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
All good, all good. So, Vishal, I primarily, I would want to start and, kind of prepare the ground for the discussion ahead by asking something very simple. Now, as I have spoken earlier also, the year 2020 has been a watershed year for all IT leaders. Now, how critical was the role of digital in converting these challenges that were born out of one of the biggest crises into opportunities?
Definitely. 2020 was a watershed year. And now, as a learning from it, companies are trying to build sustainable solutions to the world's crisis. In fact, many firms have realized the importance of being digital. We all should acknowledge, there was a time when digital strategy was more of a PowerPoint slide and, on a 1 or 2 or 3 year approach, when there used to be discussions and then, the funding. But now things have really changed. Not only in the IT sector, in fact, in many sectors. And, it has accelerated the pace of digital transformation. Now, the ongoing digitalization holds many promises to encourage innovation, be efficient, time to delivery has changed, improvement services have changed. And, moreover, nowadays, for a successful transition, or maybe I would say to be in business, it is very important to be in digital. Digitalization has transformed how individuals interact with another. You might have noticed that there were times, when people used to have in-person meetings, they used to meet. Now, everything is happening almost virtually with the same efficiency and same effectiveness. We have tried to work around ways that how can we make sure, it can be more effective and efficient. And that is a later talk, but, it has changed the way we work, in all areas. Now, what is important over here is not only from the employees part but also from the company's part. They've also tried to change the approach in which they do business. However, there have been a bit of flip sides wherein the concerns were raised on digitalization in terms of being a very disruptive technology, in terms of policymakers rethinking whether there are some privacy issues, cloud, cybersecurity, consumer loyalty and reward programs. But having said that, firms have competed with each other, and also there has been a bit of innovation and how to have the right skill sets in place, how to ensure that we have the right people in place to address these issues. And that is where you might be seeing that there has been a huge surge in job demands. Now, why? Because there has been change in the skill set requirements, and and business really knows very well that failure to adequately address these issues could lead to inefficiencies and impact the growth. Now, if you have a look at the past 2 years trend, there have been major focus on connectivity. Because interaction between people, organization, B2B, B2C, and machines have enabled us, almost have connected devices not only in one sector, in almost all the sectors. Now, have a look at the average users of mobile, average users of broadband, and the number of subscriptions. We were lucky to have reasonable rates for mobile subscriptions and internet connectivities, which has through which we utilize it at a very faster space, and we were able to have business online. So that is something which has ensured that the customers were doing transactions online. They were able to communicate. Even during depression's time, they were having audio video calls, specifically when the government imposed national lockdowns. So hence I think I'm quite bullish on the way the digital has transformed, and it's a new era. It is not like the old thing where we'll come, sit, have coffees possibly, and have spend another. Now the meetings are also point to point, cut to cut, have crisp, clear, concise, and then move. Now having said that, there has been a change in the behavior patterns of customers also. Wherein they just need to come, see, browse, deliver, take away. The transaction is very simple now.
True, true.
Now that is something which is changing the companies also. At the same time, it's now also making companies as well as the regulator things on to make digital strategies as front of their business agendas. So it's no more we will be offline plus we might be digital. It's now let's go digital first so that we can penetrate as much as possible. So I think many sectors are paying attention to this with the introduction of cloud, AI, machine learning, blockchains, and many digital initiatives. I am quite certain that things will change. If you have a look at the education sector, there was a time when people used to go to school, attend classes, and then again used to come back. As soon as during lockdowns, there was a pressure from the parents, that why schools are charging fees, for the schools immediately adapted a change in their business model, and as part of continuous education, and also to preserve their revenue flows, they went online. It was just out of the box solution and aggressive approach, wherein things, they just made things happen, including the education part. So that is something which was a change. We adapted to the change. At the same time, previously customers were also a bit skeptical about should we go or should we not. Now the situation was such that nobody even bothered about it. They just wanted to get the things done. And taking advantage of these things in digital, I won't be surprised tomorrow if there is a 360-degree shift in the working model of any business, wherein even let's say, for example, schools, I wouldn't be surprised where technology advances will do away with human teachers at some areas, wherein the robots might be taking some classes, specifically the basic parts, and the human might come into the governance part. So that is something which of course it's too far stretch, but I would not be surprised by that, because being tablets and computers being more affordable, I think online learning environment has become more of a norm. And even with robot as teachers, the future of education will look very different, and humans will be involved specifically on governance and specialized skill set trainings. So, but although we can argue that endpoints and internet is not a good teacher, I would say, because too much of information flows. So robots will one day be able to replace human, but with the help of AI. But not anytime sooner, I think. So yeah, there has been change, challenges, but again, there was also hope. Wherein we all work together, including the government agencies as well as the private sector, public sector. People participation was also there, customer participation was also there, and things moved.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I totally agree with the examples that you gave, particularly from education. How things have really changed, and how this pandemic has, been a kind of a catalyst for the digital transformation of several sectors, which were a little reluctant to,
Yep.
come along the tracks. But I think that is very true. Now, so, coming to more, granular discussions. So, Vishal, would you like to share some examples of, both disruptive and iterative innovations that, that perhaps you led or drove over the last year to help, the organizations stay afloat amid the crisis? And not only do that, but also, kind of trigger a spike in productivity, growth, efficiencies, customer employee experience, all of that. So how do you think that these innovations have really helped organizations in leveraging digital?
See, more of a areas where basically I think I would in fact I would divide this into the entire 4 points. Specifically, the taking experience from the previous organizations as well as from the technological endpoints which we were looking apart, I think people, technology, process plays. It's a combination of all these three. But
Absolutely.
I think technology was more of an enabler. We were there somewhere, but at the same time, I think people plays a very important role. Now, in this, I think best is to have a very clear communication and keep directing the team. What happens with that is, this helps employees stay engaged and work effectively. I focus on energizing the team, on their safety, and used to spend time with them and make sure that, in case if suppose somebody is even impacted, when can we just take over their workload and have a direct engagement with the customer itself, see basically what can we do. So that is something we just try to pitch in terms of the human factor. Remote working will always be, there will always be lack of clarity, because you're working, you're isolated, and there is also difficulty in navigating sometimes because you are actually working, because as soon as you come to a desk, you talk about something, we just discuss over the year, and it moves on. However, staying home, working from home is something which will just create a bit of ambiguity, lack of clarity. Now best is at that point of time is to stay calm, try to have, I would say, cross functional teams also, so that you have a very outcome based meeting, result
True,
oriented
true.
meetings.
Absolutely.
It is always better to have a very light atmosphere. And one of the best things which I have realized in the entire thing, be it customer, be it people, internal or external customer, I would say, helping people succeed is helping yourself deliver,
True.
successfully. So that is something which, from people perspective, specifically remote, you need to be, there has to be a sympathy factor as well as empathy factor. We need to strike a balance between that. Similarly, we need to, try to give customer also a confidence wherein, that we are there for them. So
True.
all the challenges were there, in terms of that, but being there for the customer is something which is required. Similarly, for the employers, if you have a small team, my suggestion has always been that try to have one-to-one calls with the team, and if not, at least if you're a larger team, then go for a weekly meeting. So that both employees and managers should adapt themselves for dealing with ambiguity. It will always be there, but at the same time, there has to be trust across levels in the organization, and that is where basically the patience is the key, and somebody has to be an effective team player as well. Now, one of the major thing which I have been reading many articles is that that I have always seconded this thought which was there in the articles already. It is not something which I have said, but it was already there, and I would recommend to test zero trust as well as secure availability of data during the DR drills. Specifically, when you start doing drills, try to go for work from home models as well, and see whether is the connectivity safe, are you able to securely download the data, how you're going to make sure that there is zero trust which is implemented in almost all the areas. Zero trust security prevents remote users from actually connecting to the devices directly. Now that is something which is required, and this has to be a combination of security monitoring also, because at the end of the day, who's doing what, and what is something, how the endpoints have been secure, what type of model is going to fit in, everything plays a very important role. So security has to be a combination of all these things. From people perspective also, I think it's required to educate employees, to let them know that what is the importance of uh, authentication and authorization. Authentication is fine, but what is the importance of authorization? you know what is need to know access? And we need to keep them educating that see, this is a company data, it's not your data. You need to be watchful about it, who accesses what, accesses from whom, from where you are accessing. So these type of educations will actually help employee also stay engaged. At the same time, you're passing a message to them, in terms of that yes, we are trusting, but although we are monitoring as well, but at the same time we're also trying to push the awareness program, so that tomorrow they don't say that we were not aware and all those things. So these are the combination of people, technology, as well as awareness. So anything or any devices which you use needs to have security clearances. It needs to ensure that they comply to the legal and regulatory requirements and should be approved. So when you have a combination of all these things, it actually makes things easier. I understand there were a lot of failures as well as successes. Some might be facing workload issues with respect to networks, so because people were not prepared. But now, since this is now this is not going to end. Let's be honest about it. It will keep coming. Then again, there will be surge, then again there will be spike, then again it might go down. We might face, if not this, then there will be some other challenge. Let's accept that. So we need to just get used to it. We need to see basically how can we float business, how we as humans can evolve, and what best we can do to serve the customers.
Right. I would completely agree with you in the sense that, the people part of the entire equation has never been more important and crucial. And employee welfare, customer welfare, as you rightly pointed out, are some of the key areas which can really help, enterprises and businesses keep the lights on. So, so we also coming on to the next part, Vishal. We see that looking at the current state of the technology landscape, we find that the next year seems pretty crucial for IT leaders. As they try to prepare their organizations for the for the so-called digital first new normal. Now, so according to you, what is this new IT for the new normal?
That's a good question. Now, as see, as digitalization grows, use of a right technology with a cybersecurity strategy as per business demand will be a key factor. Moreover, I think for business to survive, technology, refined data, privacy, and efficient utilization of resources is something which is going to be the key differentiator. Now, let us take an example of e-commerce or any e-commerce site. Now, at the end of the day, what they do? They do buy and sell, which is fair enough. You know, but what is something which enhances the experience? What is something which makes them different? It's their technology capability. At the same time, it is their experience. It's the overall customer experience, which actually helps them. Customers trust the brand. Customers feel more secure when they actually do transaction. They get what they want. They deliver what they want. They pay. They get their receipts. They get their invoices. They get their delivery on time. So that is something which is that is all they expect. I have paid for it. You deliver me. And when you have said you deliver me, on time. It is not that aa raha hai, aayega, and there's something it keeps coming. No, there has to be some. The transaction has to end somewhere and at a pace which we have committed, and whatever we've committed we deliver. It's a very simple thing. Now that is what something which which encourages us. Now, in the entire episode, which I have realized is like firms that have adequate controls on protect customer data will always have an edge.
Right.
Now, the reason being is lack of privacy controls possibly could provide not only information to the competitors, but also it might give unnecessary advantages. And it's a controversial issue, I would say. So best is, imagine now your computer having an information about purchasing habits of a particular customer, okay, and then they see a gap in the service delivery model, because of which they are not they are seeing that customer is facing challenges doing a transaction or doing buying a product. Okay, now what does the computer does? It just bridges that gap, okay, and try to poach customers by offering him a special discount and inducements. We have seen this in the telecom sector. You see a gap, one rather than 1 GB, just go for 1.5 GB, try to get over customers over here, use my connection, freebies, and then again, now, which is fine, it's competition, that's absolutely fine. But at the same time, now imagine you have a customer which is bounded by you for some period of time, and then the entire team leaves and joins the competitor. Sometimes customer knows people, they might not be knowing a brand that much.
Correct.
So what is important is like he might be loyal to the account manager, he might be loyal to the people, he might be knowing that particular person. Yeah, this person is nice, genuine guy, whatever he advises, it's fine. Now he is working for XYZ brand, now he's working for ABC brand, let me just, why shouldn't I try? And that's how it happens. Now, which is fine, no problem with that. But the data which is there, specifically from the customer perspective, the point which I'm trying to say is like companies needs to make sure that they have adequate protection over there, so that the data is not lost. That's the reason I've always said, the customer databases, including contract information, you talk about pricings, you talk about what price you have purchased anything, PIISP data, not only of customers, suppliers, these all should be strictly on need to know basis and securely, adequately protected. Else, how much time it takes, somebody will just take out the information and just pass it on to the computer. So these things
True.
are very it's a new IT, it's all data is the oil, we have to accept that. And how data has been used, it's basically up to us with the facilities which we provide and with the platform which we provide. So security will play definitely a role in it. But at the same time, I also believe that with the change in job skill sets, you talk about Ruby on Rails, you talk about Python, you talk about cloud technology, the AIs and the MLs which are coming up. I think possibilities are that this might impact people who are have outdated skill sets. Definitely there will be an impact in that, because if you noticed, when we were in 2000s, we had call centers in place, which
Right.
was in Powai. There was, big cars used to come in, take the employees. Where are they right now? They are just gone in tier 2, tier 3 city, or maybe in some other geographies, because
Absolutely.
business keeps changing, technology keeps changing, processes keeps changing. There will be new automation which is going to come in, new processes which is going to come in, machines are going to take over things, and people who have updated their skill sets will survive. People who have outdated skill set might be either looking up some other avenues, or so that's the reason I think it is very important for people to think education and their technology skill sets as part of long-term investments and upgrade themselves. Else, definitely there will be challenges, because the more virtual spaces are becoming real, authentic, there will be more skill set changes, which is required to see, how can we have real-time data, real-time outputs, quick deliverables, can we use drones or not? The many things are going to come, and this is something which is going to change the business model and dimensions drastically, and it will impact the jobs of non-skilled staff if they don't update themselves. As works will be taken by machines, companies will outsource their work to the lowest bidder. People might be told to, why don't you work from home? Leave work from home, work remotely. Wherever you are working, but at least work remotely. So because why? They know that, they have a track and trace technology in place to see and have surveillance and see efficiency as well. So now that is something which is going to again invade the privacy part and add more stress. Now for that also there are digital controls in place, when you have your BP checking machines and you have your heart rate checking machines. So this is a vicious cycle. It will keep, as in more and more technology, ample use of technology will keep distracting humans, will keep adding more stress, but it will be an infinite loop. It's an infinite loop which will keep going on. But it will end one day when the employers, the employees, come on the table where they discuss, define the rules of engagement, have a work-life balance, privacy is taken care of good. So if we are in an evolving stage, it will settle down slowly and steadily. But I think we need to accept that these are new IT norms, and we need to, at this point of time, I would suggest, just go with the flow and try to utilize to best what we can. If there is a change, let's accept the change. Let's try to learn what this change is all about, understand what technologies possibly can help me or help us and business sail through, and how can I be more productive. How can I add value. So if those
Absolutely.
things are there, I think definitely there will be it will be positive.
uh, Absolutely. I think there wouldn't be a better time to for people to upgrade, and to survive in this digital age. One would need, skills which are relevant, skills which would help them not only survive but also thrive. And in this scenario, I think, a digital, as you rightly pointed out, a digital refresh, a refresh of the skill sets, and that too a continuous refresh, continuously adapting to the evolving environment, because as we already see that the situation and the circumstances are pretty volatile and unpredictable. So as you rightly pointed out, I think professionals, particularly IT professionals, need to be on their toes and really go with the flow and adapt to the situation as and when it evolves. uh, I totally agree with this point of view. Now, coming to more, bringing, changing some more gears in this discussion. So, as an IT leader, how are you architecting the revival, and the next phase of growth? What new technologies uh, or new vistas in innovation are you exploring? That you think could really hold the key to a digital future.
This should be a combination of AI, which has subsets of deep learning as well as machine learning. Now, to have an effective and authentic cybersecurity program, I think it is very important to have automations in place. Now, having said that, it is also important to understand what is the scope, what is the objective, based on which I can define, the architectural controls which is available in that. But before that, having said that, I think it is also the most important factor for any IT professional is to know what is the business requirement. Because it should not happen that you go for plan X and you at the end of the day you end up doing plan B. Business requirement, nobody knows what business. So it's always important to know what is the business requirement. Based on that you business requirement, you evolve, you design a particular program. After that, you assess basically how it is applicable to it or not. Then you do your testing, and after that you go for a deployment. So see, don't be in a hurry to just jump and make anything and come out on the desk. I think it's important to understand business, be with the business, understand what they're trying to say. Based on that, you see, do I have any solution currently which is meeting the requirement? If not, or do I need to build? Then you look at your capex and opex and everything, and based on that you see whether if the funding is required. So you just need to start everything from scratch. So these things basically will is a combination. At the same time, when you design anything, or maybe when you architect anything, it is important to know what is must, what is good to have, what is not good to have. There has to be a deep understanding around that. It's always better to just be clear with what exactly is required, what not required. If not, see, we might not know everything. Ask. It's always better to pick up the phone, talk to people. If you're not clear on something, it's better to ask. No question is a stupid question. It's a question. If you're not aware, it's okay to just ask and get clarity on that. And once you have clarity, I think things will fall in place. But at the same time, it's also important to understand the external factors. Now, for example, if I have a business requirement of A, I am designing a particular product. There is no harm in seeing how the competitors are also pitching that product. What is the regulation saying? What is my understanding about the regulations? And it's quite clear. Many of the regulators are there. They're very clear in saying what basically is required. Just follow that, see what the competitor is doing, understand the business requirement, and try to design the solution. Second, I think blockchain is something which I'm quite bullish on. It has a genuine use case for the private as well as the government sector. And I think with decentralization, immutability, and automaticity, it has many things to offer. I think we can discuss about blockchain maybe in the later videos, but I think there's something which is which will be very, very important. So I think if anyone needs to upgrade, I think just these are 3 or 4 areas which I believe might be important apart from cloud. And so yeah, I think again, but from marketing perspective, best is to just understand what you're doing.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you in the sense that the areas and the of emerging technologies that you just pointed out, for example, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, all these are very promising emerging technologies. Now, over the past few years, we have seen, how a technology like cloud has really gained a lot of prominence and almost become mainstream. In fact, it has emerged as a crucial part of the digital transformation journey of organizations. So, in your own opinion, in your own views, how what do you think? How critical is the cloud technology to your innovation strategy? And how are you leveraging this very crucial piece of the jigsaw puzzle to drive innovation at speed and scale?
Cloud is important, no doubt about it. But I think strategy is important. Strategy is absolutely important. And I believe it is very important to outline the role of cloud and the value it is going to provide to an organization. See, what happens is like strategy provides a context based on which I architect a particular solution, I develop a particular architecture, and then I design and I deliver. Okay, now a very high level aspiration goals helps me, think, visualize, and design better solutions. Now, what happens at this point of time, when we try to do the architecture part, important is to understand, as I mentioned, the business requirements, and then think from the technological perspective, and the people part comes into play. What happens is like we need to understand the advantages and disadvantages of any technology which we use. Now, cloud should not be, just because computer A or computer B or computer C is moving to cloud, that doesn't give me a justification, to move to the cloud, because cloud has many strategic considerations. It requires data security. It requires, you need to think from legal perspective, regulation perspective, geopolitical perspective, operational efficiency, cost, people, automation, everything, many things comes into the play when you move. And second, how the applications are going to be, auto scaling comes into play, microservices, how you're going to monitor them. So the Kafkas and container, everything is going to come into the play. So it's a different world altogether somewhere. It's very easy to just say the cloud, but again, there are many subsets of it. Wherein second, which I always emphasize upon, is cloud should not be considered as a dumping ground. What happens is, like, anything just push it to the cloud. Why? Because people believe it, at the end of the day it's going to be cheaper. It doesn't work, unfortunately, that way. It is a very strategic decision. Whether do you want to move, do you don't want to move? If yes, then what? If not, then how? What is something which we need to plan? So it's at the end of the day a technology which will definitely help you. How it's going to help, it's up to us to assess, decide at what time, how, where, when, what, many things. At the same time, which partners I am going through, what is the reliability of that partner. Many things comes into play. If I have a service provider, then I again have to think about how are they in doing business with, what is the uptime which they provide, what is their efficiency, how much capable they are in terms of that, how much regulatory compliant they are, what type of brand image they are also offering to us, will they be supporting us during our difficult times. So contractual agreements comes into play, compliances come into play, regulations comes into play. So many areas apart physical security is there. So that's something which I have not stressed upon. So that is where, when we use cloud, these things will be there. But again, I always mention, cloud is not the ultimate goal for any business. The ultimate goal is profit, cost efficiency, infrastructure reliability, rich customer experience, faster, secure, agile. Now those are the ultimate goals which I have. Now in that, how I'm fitting cloud or any other technology, that is something which I looked upon. So that's it. It's a very strategic decision. And I again say that, from cloud perspective, beautiful technology, no harm in that. But again, entire strategy should be customer centric, it should be profit oriented, and it should be secure and agile. Because with new technologies, there will always be responsibility in terms of protecting the data adequately, ensuring that we are using the right things, need to know access is there, how we are protecting and safeguarding. Those things comes into play.
So this is really, brings out the crux of the discussion that we have had till now, which has been a brilliant discussion, courtesy to you, Vishal, where you have really covered a lot of very diverse and very important and relevant areas. So the crux which comes to my mind is that no matter how popular or critical or crucial a technology is, at the end of the day, it has to really take forward business requirements and help businesses in a major way, to really justify their use. Now, as I have already said, it's been a wonderful discussion. So this brings me to the end of this discussion, Vishal. And, I would really want to, our audiences would really want to understand and know your advice to, other CIOs, technology leaders, on how they can really optimize their innovation agenda, as well as maximize business transformation, and that too through digital means.
See, the pandemic has already accelerated the pace of digital transformation. My advice would be, to design solutions, as I mentioned, with clear business outcomes. Be customers focused, and not external customers. Be customers are internal customers as well as external focused. Try to see basically what are requirements, who your stakeholders are. The entire solution needs to be simple, you know, result oriented, future reusable. It should meet these criteria. Business requirement, whatever I'm using is simple, it's secure, future ready, and then I go for can I reuse it or not? Else what will happen is, if every time you will start designing new things, what's going to happen, it's good to have that, but there will be challenges around continuous improvement. So we cannot have innovations unless we utilize our time and energy on productive things. So we need to ensure that where are we, where is something which my involvement is required as a leader, and what is something which can be, passed on to the battalion, and they can, run the show. Else, what is going to happen is like, what we are doing is, by doing the same thing over and over again, we are expecting different outcomes, which is not possible. You might have variations, but outcome will be same. It's a quality control, but not something which I'm talking about, a security control. So it's as good as managing day-to-day operations when you're using the same things. That's the reason, it's always required to ensure that we use our time on productive things, be very clear, have a very clear thought process, something what we are planning to do, how we are planning to do, are we meeting the business requirement, are my customers happy about it or not, and at the end of the day, what is my value add, to the on the table. Else, it will be very difficult to defend against, the disruptive challenges. We know many things are coming, the type of banks are coming. We also know the type of e-commerce industries are coming. Telecom has changed so much. Internet connectivity has changed so much. Look at the way, the automobile industries have changed. There was a time when, we had the big brands, big German brands used to be the safest car. Today we have 8-10 lakh rupees car who is offering, almost all the features in terms of safety. So you are moving against disruptive challenges, which are trying to give breakthrough technologies, and with those breakthrough technologies, even the expensive and sophisticated products and services are accessible and more affordable to the broader market. And it is going to happen. As soon as somebody innovates, how much time does it take for someone to just go and copy paste and just move ahead with it, unless you have the IPRs and everything in place. But it's a competitive world. So we just need to ensure that we try to go for with a clear thought process, design the right solutions, be simple, secure, future ready, and understand the customer requirements. And anything which we see, how basically we can reuse it so that it does not impact the cost.
Brilliantly put. So, with this, we come to the end of this episode of the Innovation Masters series. It has been a wonderfully insightful talk and a pleasure talking to you, Vishal. Thanks for sharing your inspiring thoughts and opinions. I hope the audience here has had a lot of wonderful insights and takeaways. Thank you all for joining us today. And I would like to thank our partners, Control S and Cloud4C. Have a great day ahead, ladies and gentlemen.